Hey boys and girls, Mr. Sputnik here. Welcome to the shop, and I guess this is officially video number 1 of the V6, the 2.5 into the 2-door over there. I guess officially the first video. Not getting into any V6 stuff today, but what's on the plate is front differentials. Right here, this is a steel housing of a 99 Grand Vitara that are acquired out of my parts cars. And over here, parts Vitara, Grand Vitara. Over here is a aluminum housing with 513s in it. Now my 2-door has 513s in already from stock, being a 1.6 liter. This came out of another 1.6 liter 2-door torn apart. So what's on the menu today is I'm going to blow both of these apart, take them apart. This one's going to get painted. I'm going to take the carrier and gear set out of the aluminum one, stick in the steel one. So this will be a steel front differential with 513 gears. It's a drop and swap. Down here is there's only a couple seals I trust, and National is one of them. National, SKF, Timken, all very good seals. So I got 2 axle seals, pinion seal, and this little gem is an FKD Up Fab spring spacer. Now these front differentials have a air actuator in them that when you put it in 4-wheel drive, an air pump kicks on and supplies roughly 5 pounds of air to the front diff, which actuates an air bladder, which basically engages your pinion to the drive line, your axles. So what this does, this takes the place of that air bladder inside of here, and it is engaged all the time, so you have to run lockout hubs, which I already am. My 2-door over there, the actuator is welded. It's not a locker, the actuator is welded, so as you can see, I'm running worn lockouts. So in this iteration, I'm just not going to weld. I'm going to save a little bit of headache and just get this $20 spacer. You take the bearing off, you take the actuator off, and you take this, put this in place of the actuator. So pretty straightforward. So guts out of this one, put into this one, and make a 513 steel diff. That actuator has been bypassed in. So, all right, got the 513 aluminum third out, 8 bolts. The housing, before you get it out, this stub shaft is in through here. You just take your dead blow and you just smack away on these ears. Not going to hurt them one single bit. This is at least 1/4 inch thick metal, so you're not going to bend anything here. There's a bearing inside here, so you gotta get it past that bearing. So you smack on this ear with this dead blow, pop this axle out, then your third member is free and clear to come out. 8 bolts total. 2 of them are these. There we go, locator style. There's 2 of these are 14 millimeter, and the rest, the 6 of them, are 12 millimeter. Buzz them out, take your dead blow, smack it up against the third member, the pinion flange, whatever you have to, and it'll pop right out. So here we go. And then to get this out, this whole carrier assembly with ring gear, you have this black pressure hose. That's what your 5 pounds of air comes into. Inside here is your diaphragm, which pushes up against the engagement ring. So you just take your needle nose, you pull these 2 clips, or yeah, I guess you call them clips, You pull them and slide them down the hose. You'll pull this hose off. You take your 17mm socket, buzz your carrier bearing caps off. So there's one here, one here. There's 4 of them in total. I'm going to go ahead and buzz these 2 caps off, pull this high pressure, this low pressure hose off, and then this third member, carrier with the ring gear with the carrier bearings and the carrier bearing retainer screw will all come out, and I'll have that sitting right here all laid out for you. Alright, we got the carrier out with the ring gear, actuator, carrier bearings, carrier races. Got that all out. We got in this FKD up fab actuator delete spacer is actually going to go right in here, take the place of this actuator underneath this bearing. And that's what's going to hold that actuator, the engagement ring, in all the time. Hence the need for lockouts. And we got our third member here, 27mm for the pinion nut, and we're going to buzz that off, pull the pinion flange off, and then knock the pinion out. And this carrier ring gear spacer in place of the actuator, this pinion gear, that's all going to go in the steel housing and third member. Alright, we're down to, we got the carrier, ring gear, the whole carrier assembly. We have the pinion gear, just the gear, no bearings, no races. Thanks to the 3-jaw puller, got the pinion flange off. When you use these, especially with the impact, make sure you grease the ever-living crap out of these threads, and it'll keep them from getting galled. And using the hydraulic press in the corner, should have a picture showing up. Got the bottom, got the inner bearing off the pinion. So plan is from here on out is we got the bearing, or not, got the pinion, 513 pinion. We're gonna pull this bearing and race off of this carrier, pull the air diaphragm out, install the spacer in place of the air diaphragm, and then reinstall the bearing. Alright, here we go. We got the, well, after a bit of a struggle and a couple whoopsie daisies, we got the, what's left of the air actuator out. Yeah, so that didn't go well, but air actuator is out. Bearing and race are fully intact, no issues there. Then we got the engagement ring, which is, maybe a little better, closer look. We got the actual engagement ring that's in here, and then we have a thrust washer and a wave spacer, and then we have the actual part that the air actuator rides on. This has 4 clips in it that hold this whole spring wave thrust washer assembly together. So that's gonna stay right where it is. Well, let me refocus this thing. There we go. Alright, so now we got now that portion. Grab our handy dandy FKD up fab spacer. It goes right on like so. And then this bearing, pull the race off for a moment. This bearing goes right on top, and that gets pressed onto the carrier, and pushes this whole assembly down, which locks it in full time. So I'll get this pressed on and get back to you. All right, here we go. We got the FKD up fab spacer installed. That is taking the place of the actuator, which this one is mangled and no longer in service. So let's not discuss that portion. So got my seal / bearing press, and went on the inner race of the bearing and pressed it back onto the carrier. So good to go. Got the spacer taking place of the air actuator, pressing down on the actuator ring, which that's pretty much it. I mean, this is locked in full time now. So go ahead and get yourself a pair of OEM Asians or Warns or super winches or mile markers or whatever your flavor may be. Go ahead and get them, install them on your hubs. I personally like these Warn Premiums, so go ahead and install them and put everything back together, and you are good to go. No more air actuator, no more air pump, no more potential of air leakage or any sort of pneumatic failure. It is 100% mechanical at this point. But we're going to go ahead and take this carrier with the ring and the pinion gear, 513 gear set, air actuator bypassed carrier. Now we're going to go ahead and install that into the steel differential. Welcome back to the shop. As you can see, I got everything's ready to go. Everything's prepped. The housing third member's painted. They're ready to go. All the seals are pulled. And one thing to note, if you're doing if you're basically rebuilding the steel housing, because these the third and the housing are steel, you're going to end up getting this rust lip where all the seals are. My camera would focus. Get this rust ring around, the output and the input seals. So you just take some sandpaper and get rid of that. So everything's prepped, everything's ready to go. All new seals. And if you notice, I didn't mention this before, but this is a nylon bushing. There's actually a kit you can buy through eBay and other places, and this eliminates the floppy axle on the stub end, the short end of this, and this basically has a little oil hole, lubrication hole, and you can do this with the vehicle in. You just pull the CV axle out, you buy this, gets pressed in, and then a seal which comes with it goes over top, and that eliminates that floppy axle from Suzuki's terrible decision to not put lockouts in the second gens. They put dry flanges, so the CV axle spinning all the time and wipes out the seal because the side gear gets worn, and next thing you know, you get oil spewing out of your diff. And well, short of getting a new carrier, another carrier for the front or side gears, you buy this, put it in, problem solved. And of course, I recommend putting lockouts on anyways, even if you don't do this. So that's going to get pressed in, oil hole goes at the bottom, towards the bottom. So we're going to do that. So tonight, going to get the pinion seal and the two axle seals in, get the pinion pressed into the third, get preload set, and a couple of helpful tools when doing seals and everything is seal puller. Instead of using a screwdriver or you're marring up your seal surface, get one of these. They work awesome. Also a bearing and seal press kit. Both these had cheap at Harbor Freight, which is what I did, and use them for everything. So, all right, got the. This is the orientation of the differential is in the vehicle, and oil hole goes down. Get this. This one's a little loose, but that's all right. Seal's going to go over top of it and kind of keep that in place. You can also RTV these in place also. I'm not going to worry about it too much because this is going to be lubricated. So it goes in like so. Grab your seal, get some grease, grease the outer perimeter of the seal, and stick it in, and use your seal driver and press it in till the seal is all the way up against this bushing. Housing's prepped. I got the Floppy CV axle fix. It's in and doesn't move. It's held in place by the seal. Seal's in both sides. So that's prepped. Also, I found that other than using one of those cookies on an air die grinder, one of the easiest way to get these surfaces clean and prepped for RTV is I'll use brake cleaner and one of these Scotch Brites, and it'll take all that old RTV right off. And you wipe it down and make sure it's clean, make sure it's dry. So that's done. Gonna move on to getting the pinion into the third. Well, we got the pinion seal in the third. We got this ready to go. Pinion, inner pinion bearing, and the crush spacer. And gonna feed it up through and put the dry flange on and go ahead and run her down. Alright, I got the pinion in the third member. You just take that pinion with the bearing already pressed onto it and the crush sleeve, and you send it up through, and you take your dry flange and you press it all together and you run your pinion nut down. Make sure you, where is it? Right there. Stake it so it doesn't turn out. I got this to about 10 inch pounds of preload on that pinion, so that's good to go. Next step is take the carrier assembly with the side adjusters and bearing caps and get them in the third and get the backlash set. On a side note, before I put the carrier in, sorry, I don't have much light in this shop. I have this mostly unscrewed, but this is the airline pass-through that goes from the pump through the third into the inside of the third, and then there's an airline that goes from here to the diaphragm. What you want to do, well, my preference is I'll put a cap on the inside. I'll pull this out, go over here, stick it in the vise, focus. Stick this in the vise, and I'll fill the tube full of JB Weld. Let it sit for 12 hours, 24 hours. And then this is sealed off because you won't be needing this anymore. My preference is a JB Weld these. I guess you can cap them, silicone them, whatever your preference is, but you need to close this off somehow so you're not leaking oil out into the ground, because you no longer have any airlines inside or out. So we got the carrier installed into the third member. You just take the carrier and the bearings, the bearing races, drop it into the third, put the bearing caps on top, snug these bolts down. You don't want to torque them just yet, snug them down, and then use your side adjusters to move this back and forth to get your backlash. And you can use one of these handy dial indicators from Harbor Freight and with a magnetic base and get it set up. So this is spec'd out a little on the tight side, probably about 4 thousandths backlash. These cap bolts are torqued about 50 foot-pounds, so this is ready to go. Surface is cleaned, ready for our TV. Got this through-hole piece, got JB Weld, curing. So next step is to get our TV put on the housing surface, drop the third member in, bolt it in, and then take the stub shaft and drive it into differential. And then short of reattaching the breather hose, that's pretty much going to be it. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I'll make sure to get a picture right after this ends of the final assembly.